Well, thanks for joining us for the live show. If you are in the comments, make sure you make yourself known or else I won't know you're here. Love to see comments. I can pin them. Sometimes I forget about that. But tonight we are going back in time to the 25th anniversary of Walt Disney World. And it just so happens that is 25 years ago. You probably know that it's the 50th anniversary starting very soon, October 1st. And I believe he is. So I'm going to give a shout out, and I'm sure he'll appreciate it either way. But Jeff Moliterno is here in the comments right now. And if you check out his page, WDWPOV by the Moliternos, I believe they will be there for October 1st to do some live streaming in the parks. Now, he could tell me in the comments if that's wrong, but I'm sure he'd still like it if you go check out his page sometime. So again, that's WDWPOV by the Moliternos. And whether they're on October 1st or not, they have some good stuff and content. Also, we have with us in the comments, I saw Matt and Crystal Woolley are here. They were featured on our last episode just this past Monday, just this week, just a few days ago. And they are part of Married to a Disney Addict. So you'll have to listen to find out what that's all about. And just like a lot of our podcasts, we got a little deeper than just talking about what we like about Disney. That's what we like to try to do here. And I've recently kind of coined this catchphrase about what we're trying to do. And that is here with Beyond Pixie Dust. We are a movement of kingdom-driven lives. But we're also a movement of Disney fans looking for meaning and purpose. And so some of us are followers of Jesus, like myself. Others say, well, I'm not very religious, but you know what? I'm still seeking meaning. I'm still seeking purpose. And so we're always trying to try to just find out more and get a little deeper than just Disney. So Jeff says the plans are still in flux, but let's just hope, do the prayer emojis, right? The prayer hand emojis. And we will hope for the best. Let me bring this back up just a little bit bigger, maybe. That works like that. I like that a little bit more. So wish we could go on the 1st. I can't wait to see everyone's content so we can vicariously live through them. Yeah, so I have an announcement, and then I want your input in a little bit later on in the show regarding a Disney trip for myself. But before we do that, again, we're going to be talking about going back in time a little bit here. And I have a few things I want to show you, and kind of you guys can share your memories, because I know many of you have been around the Disney World for many years. So first off, I do have this hat on today. Now, this is going to be like, it probably already is a collector's item, but it is definitely going to be very soon because, of course, Splash Mountain is going away. We can see, and the reason I bring this up specifically tonight is I got this on my very first trip to Disney, and that would have been in 1996, I believe, because it was for the 25th anniversary. So when people talk badly about the castle, which of course we all know, you know, what that looked like, and there's a lot of bad things we can say about it, but I have a lot of good thoughts about it because it was my very first trip to Walt Disney World. So I didn't know any better. You know, I was a kid. And when I think about that castle, I think of my very first experiences of Disney. So to me, the castle cake is actually a positive thing. But I rode this. I had talked about Disney and read all the Disney books. And back then, they had the Birnbaum, not just the guide to Disney, but they also had, it was for kids by kids, where kids actually wrote about Disney. And then, you know, it was like an official guide. And so I had studied everything. And I really wanted to go on Splash Mountain. It sounds so exciting. The kids made it sound so good. When I got there, I was too afraid. And my mom was like, well, let's just go in the line and just check it out. We'll at least see the theming. You know, she was tricking me. I didn't know. So we got in the line and it's like, oh, okay. And then we got up to the boats. And she's like, well, now we're going to get on. I was like, no, where's the way out? And she, oh, there's no way out. You got to get on the ride. It's like, oh, no. So we got on the ride, and I was really scared, of course, but after I did the drop, then I loved it, went on it again. But then because of being able to like go through that, I believe either I or maybe my mom bought the hat, and I've had it ever since. And on the side here, you've got the 5 rules to Splash Mountain. And I don't think these rules will change because even though we're not going to see these characters anymore, and it's going to be a Princess and the Frog themed, I think these will still apply to the new iteration of Splash Mountain. And of course we have grip, the grab bar. Number 2, close your eyes. 3, open mouth. 4, scream. And 5, scream louder. So I think that'll still apply. Obviously, we're still going to have the drop. And as I say, this will become a collector's item soon. I don't know. I have some like old dust or mud or something on there. I'm moving it the wrong way. So I need to like clean this off. And I don't think I'm necessarily willing to sell it, but could be a big collector's item. And like I say, probably already is because they haven't made these that I've known for years anyway. So it's probably 25 years old already. So Matt says about that, he says Splash Mountain is one of the only rides he won't go on. There's no seatbelt. That's shocking to me. So you're afraid because there's no seatbelt. I mean, no one's ever fallen out of it. Now, does Crystal go on? Does your wife go on this? I mean, and you just stay off and just watch? I mean, if your son wants to go on one day, I'm sure you're going to get roped into this. This is one of Jeff's favorite rides, Splash Mountain. Many people's favorite rides. I'm excited to see, it's sad to see old things go. It always is, especially loved rides and attractions. But we know, that's just part of what we signed up for because Walt said that Disneyland will never be completed. Things will always be in flux. Things will always be changing. We will have to say goodbye, sadly, to some things we love. But we don't necessarily have to say goodbye to the ride. We're still going to get the drop. We're still going to get the splash. It's just going to be different. And I'm sure I would be very surprised if we didn't have little hints to the current Splash Mountain when we get the Princess and the Frog, kind of like we have Mr. Toad, little hints of him throughout the new Winnie the Pooh ride. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, so Jill just reminded me of this story. Speaking of memories, before we even get into some of the stuff that isn't there anymore from the 25th, this is a 25th anniversary story, I think. I've gone on so many trips that sometimes they get like overlapped. But my dad had a video camera, obviously a lot bigger than this one, but a pretty traditional camera. And he was filming. We kind of made fun in prior year or years since because he would always film like the entirety of every ride. Whereas we were like, well, why weren't you like filming what our reactions were? He was just filming every ride in its entirety. So he was filming Splash Mountain, and sure enough, you come around that first bend, and they have the cannons that shoot out water. Well, it splashed right onto the camera. So he was all upset. So then we have the picture, which then tells me, I guess it wasn't the 25th because they wouldn't have the pictures at that point, maybe. But anyways, we had the picture of him super angry holding his camera because he was just so mad it was splashed. So, all right. So, yeah. Oh, okay. So my cousin Anthony has the photograph of my dad looking all sad. So your wife, Crystal, will go on and she loves it. She hates Tower of Terror though, and I love that ride. Now the thing is, I know from the podcast that I just put out that she rode Tower of Terror at least once with you. So I'm pretty sure you need to take a ride at least once on Splash Mountain and ride with her. So there's no, not really too much of an excuse. I mean, you have your son as an excuse, but not really. I mean, I'm sure you'll have other family members with you. So I think it's about time you just gave it a chance. So tonight I wanted to show you a few things. I'm not going to go through obviously every page of this, but I have quite a few, as I mentioned in previous shows, Disney magazines. They don't make Disney magazine anymore. At least this version, now they have the D23 magazines. But this was the 1997 Guide to Walt Disney World. This came out monthly. The Disney magazine. It's all sorts of things. You can see Tim Allen was in Jungle to Jungle that year. They did an interview with him. But one of the biggest things I was going to show you from here, just again, this just shows us what we're talking about from the 25th anniversary year. This had a special fold out. And so you see here, this was Walt Disney World Resort in Florida, obviously, back in spring of 1997, according to this. And I misspoke when I said this was monthly. This was seasonal. So you can see, obviously, we have down over, I'm trying to point without looking. I think it's really hard looking backwards on the camera. So Disney MGM, you have over here the beginnings of Animal Kingdom. It says opening spring 1998. Then you have, obviously Epcot and Magic Kingdom as well. But it's very small compared to what we have now, of course. Especially since Animal Kingdom was not yet opened and some of the other places hadn't been expanded and some of the things that we know now. So that's what I actually wanted to go through with you guys today, is look through some of the 25th anniversary guide to Walt Disney World. And it will, like, almost, I was shocked at how many things in this guide that were like brand new for this year were actually no longer around. So I want to show you guys this. I want to go through this with you guys and just see what your thoughts are on some of these old attractions, if you ever experienced them. If not, maybe maybe some of these you never knew actually existed. But actually, before I do that, I actually researched and looked up the costs back then, and this is something that's just like, oh, it's just crazy. So if you wanted to go experience the 25th anniversary, let's start with this. If you wanted to experience the 50th anniversary, you want to go just one day, you could be paying anywhere between $109 to $159, depending on the day. So probably like, for example, October 1st, which is going to be the actual, actual anniversary, that would probably be like $159 versus, a day where they're not expecting many people, that's going to be $109, right? So that's current day. If you wanted to go 25 years ago to a day at the Magic Kingdom, for example, you would be paying $38.50 a person for one day. $38.50 you get everything at the parks. It's insane. So to put this in perspective, like I just said, it could be maximum of $159 for a day. You could do a 5-day park hopper in 1996 for $186 for one person to hop parks all day long for 5 days straight. $186. That's insane. And then we could say the ultimate thing. Okay, if I was going to do a 5-day park hopper, which I did back then, I didn't know any better. I was a kid. I wish I knew it and I could go back in time and tell my parents, because that you get it 5 days for $186. But for $220, just like $30 more, you could get an annual, I did the math wrong, but like $40 more. You could get an annual pass for $220 a year. Like that is, I mean, I know that things have gotten more expensive in the world and like the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. And like, there's all those factors, but it is crazy. And I being on Disney Twitter and all the groups and things, I know that's one of the biggest problems people are having right now is with the the money, how high everything is going up. Space 220 just opened and like the prices are like, to pardon the joke, like out of this world. Like literally the prices are insane for Space 220, the new restaurant in Epcot. So all that to say, I will only try to be negative in that one degree, but it's like, man, I wish I could go back in time and like go to those prices just for a day. How much you could do with those prices. But anyways, the 25th anniversary guide. Let me show you a few things from here. So Magic Kingdom Park. Magic Kingdom Park, there were a few things that have always, that are like still around today and all of that. Here's a big foldout from Remember the Magic Parade. If you got here earlier, you would have seen I streamed that early before the show started. Matt says about the annual passes, we're renewing ours right now and we have to make sure it's worth it for the number of days we're going. And that's where it's tricky, because like for $220 back in 1996, at least I feel like, you could be like, yeah, that's definitely worth it. But for 1,000 some, depending on how much you're paying, it's like, yeah, is this going to actually work out? It seems good, but is it good? So in 1996, there were a lot of things opening during this 25th anniversary year. Mickey's Toontown Fair, which is no longer there. We now have the Dumbo ride has been relocated in that area. But this was opening for the very first year, where you actually, a specific place where you got to meet most of these, if not all of them, in a day, and explore Mickey's house, Donald's house, Minnie's house. I remember this roughly, like there were some cool things. I remember it was very much for kids. Big plastic chairs and stuff that could be wiped down easily. Very over the top refrigerator, those types of things. But there were some cool little things, like in Mickey's house, there was some sort of holographic system that there was a plate with cookies on it. But when you reach out to grab the cookies, your hand goes through it. And there was some projection that projected the cookies there on the plate. And that was kind of something that stuck in my mind as kind of this fun little special effects thing. But anyways, all that to say, it was definitely a kids area, but it was a nice place to know you can definitely go meet everybody. Now they have that mostly just for Mickey. Matt says he remembers walking through Mickey's house and loved it. It would have been awesome to bring his son, Lincoln, to see it. Yeah, definitely. It was something that for kids like myself going through it, it definitely sticks in your mind. And definitely something that was worth going to, especially with kids. Now, on the other side of things, something that you should have never brought kids to, and sadly it's the reason it was closed, was opening that year. Anybody recognize this? And if you don't, you're probably just going to look down and see exactly what it says underneath. This is a photo for the Extraterrestrial alien encounter. Previously, just more recently in that space, was Stitch's escape. And Stitch was a very, 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 I couldn't say very enough, tamed down version of the Extraterrestrial alien encounter. It was terrifying. It was, if you've been on Stitch and you haven't been on the alien encounter, Stitch, Stitch breaks free and you feel him like bouncing on your shoulders, and he does different antics and he burps in your face and all these things. And, for kids, that could still be scary, right? Stitch could be scary to some degree, but Alien Encounter was pitch black pretty much the entire time, and you felt hot breath on your neck from an alien. Slime, or you envisioned it was slime. It was just water, I'm sure, but like slime from his mouth dripped on your head, and you could feel him, just licking the back of your neck, and it was the most terrifying thing I've probably ever done in my whole life, and it was insane. And now Anthony just had a comment that comes up. He says, should have been for teenagers and adults only. I think that was kind of the idea. It was, from what I've read, Michael Eisner was like, listen, Magic Kingdom is seen as mostly a kid's park. And so we need something maybe for the teens that are going to bring the teens in, and the adults that are going to really be interested in. So it was a great idea. But what happened is that exact same thing happened. People said, well, this is a kid's park. They wouldn't put anything too scary in Magic Kingdom. It's just, for kids. So they would bring kids in there, and kids basically are still in counseling to this day because of the alien encounter. I mean, it was just a terrifying thing. But it's an amazing, I wish they would, we know Stitch was in there, and that's now, who knows what they're doing in there. Rumors are they're going to be putting in a totally different Wreck-It Ralph attraction. But what it would have been kind of cool, since you have the exact same space, what if in the past during like Halloween events, Mickey's, I know it says not so scary, but what if during Mickey's Halloween party in the past, you would have done a seasonal thing of the alien encounter? I mean, you have all the same workings, you just have to replace Stitch with the creature, right? I mean, I don't know. But, and that's something else to say about Alien Encounter 2, is when you started the ride, there was a little show, and there's this real fuzzy, cute little guy in there. But then what happens is when you get stuck in this thing that you can't get out of, and the chair is holding you down, then it turns into a creature, and then next thing you, like a horrifying creature, and then the lights go out, and they come back on, and it's broken out, like Stitch does. And so, yeah, so it just tricked you, like this false sense of security. So anyway, that was going on. Surprisingly, I didn't really remember this, but Astro Orbiters, which is still there today, was brand new. It was just opening for the first time in Tomorrowland. And those are some of the things that were happening over there in Magic Kingdom. Now, remember, keep in mind that the 25th anniversary, Animal Kingdom was not a park. So it was not something that, we can see then and now. It was very much in the works. They were building. But it wouldn't open until, I believe we said a minute ago, 1998. So there were only 3 parks at this point. But I still feel like there was so much to do. Really, honestly, even so much to do in relation to now. And maybe we'll get back to this later on. But in just even thinking about Magic Kingdom, COVID just ruined so many things that I wonder, how much they had planned for the 50th that they couldn't do. I mean, even just think about the thing that some of us saw earlier tonight when it was streaming before 7. Remember the Magic Parade. I mean, now we have Cavalades, which are great fill-ins. It's like basically one float that goes down the street at a random time, and it's fun, it's surprising, it's whatever. But what if, the 50th anniversary full parade with stuff going down the street, 10 floats or however much, and dancers, and I mean, think of, that's just one small little bit to say, when I look at how many attractions open on the 25th anniversary and how many hotels were like new hotel experiences and experiences within the parks and so many, new shows. And it's just sad to think about, how little in relation to the 25th we're actually getting and seeing for the 50th. Now, what Mackie points out here is true. Maybe it would be awesome if there was a surprise parade for the 50th. And I'm sure, Disney always has little tricks up their sleeve. I'm sure there will be some surprises that we go, oh my gosh, I didn't even know, this was going to be a thing. They never announced it. And suddenly you see, I don't know, it's going to be anything, there'll be surprises, right, in the parks, and there will be things that happen. Jill points out that they stayed at a resort in 1996 that no longer exists. And I should say we, because I stayed with her and her family. And it was the Disney Institute, I believe, is what you're referring to, Jill. If that's the case, as a slight aside, but not much, the Disney Institute, I won't get too far into it, but it was a very interesting resort and opportunity where you could take classes and you could, if you want to be an animator, you could take classes with animators at this resort. If you wanted to learn how to cook, you could take cooking classes with chefs, Disney chefs. It was really amazing. I want to say as an aside, I'm recording an episode very soon. It'll be a few months before it comes out. I'm recording an episode very soon with a woman who worked for the Disney Institute. And it's actually, it has continued on, actually, but just in a very different way. As Jill said, it doesn't exist in the physical sense on property anymore, but it still exists. And so I'll have that interview coming out, I don't know at this point, maybe December, January, because I have so many recorded that I'm releasing. But anyways, just a little thought. Anthony's just being like kind of a downer. He's like, a lot of half exciting stuff coming out. It's like, I'm almost excited. Now, I do think there's exciting stuff for the 50th, and we did talk about that last show, so I won't get much into that. But I'll talk about now Epcot. At Epcot, there were a bunch of new things happening, actually. So one was Innoventions, which really went downhill over the years, didn't it? I mean, look at this guy. He's wearing, like, at the time, like VR. I'm going the wrong way because I'm going backwards. At the time, VR was just like a thing of the future. And to think you could go there and experience some sort of VR, and they actually label it here, like, check out a hands-up, close-up, hands-on look at the future that's just around the corner. And so this guy in the Pooh shirt is able to experience VR. Like, Innoventions went really downhill, and now it's closed. They're doing Innovations East and West. It closed, and they're doing different things. But that was open for the first time. There's some really unique stuff in there. But in addition to that, does anybody remember Body Wars? Body Wars was like the evil cousin of Star Tours. Because Star Tours is still open today. So all of you who have been to Disney Hollywood Studios, you probably know what that is. You sit there, you put on the 3D glasses, and you're going throughout different planets. Well, Body Wars was, first of all, somebody had the idea that it would be good for people who might get sick anyways, to go through the human body, to go passing through blood vessels. So that makes it people sick. But, it's not necessarily a smooth ride on Star Tours. If you've ever been bumpy, like, wow, this kind of jostled me a little bit. Well, Star Tours was like, you came off there and some people had like whiplash. Matt says, I love Body Wars. Reminded me of the movie Inner Space with Martin Short. And yeah, you know what? I have a lot of really great memories of Body Wars. And, same as maybe Matt would say here too, like, some of the funny stuff about this kind of stuff is it's like, man, Body Wars, it would be cool to do that again. But then, like, if we actually went on it today, it'd be like, boy, this is really cheesy, like really like bad filming, because it's old, right? But it would be fun to go back and just be able to experience some of those classic, at least to me, classic attractions again from first trips in the 25th. Also opening for the very first time was the second iteration of Universe of Energy with Bill Nye the Science Guy and Ellen DeGeneres. They were trying to kind of rebrand it, make it so more people would come in. And so they added, Ellen's Energy Adventure, which, again, I have good memories of. But as I wrote it then in more recent years before it closed, I was like, this is kind of like drags on. Like it's mostly not much of a ride. It's mostly watching movies of Ellen and Jeopardy, and it's funny to an extent, but it's not like hilariously funny. And I am really excited about what's coming there, which is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. So I think I'm excited about that change. Whereas I'm not too excited necessarily about others changes like this one. Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. This has been gone for many years, but I would love to see Honey, I Shrunk the Audience come back. And I just realized as I'm looking at my comments, I'm moving too quickly because I want to hear your memories of these things too, and I don't want to move on too quickly. So let me go back to Universe of Energy for just a second. Love the dinos in there. Yeah, that was really cool. Gave you a different perspective in Universe of Energy than you do like on Dinosaur, which is mostly in the dark. When you see the dinosaurs, it's like, whoa, there's something right there, and then you're off somewhere else. And so still very cool in Dinosaur, but a totally different, obviously, vibe, totally different thing, and definitely not for kids versus Universe of Energy was something that I guess they would like that portion and probably not like the video portion where you're sitting there. And homeschoolers like me were forced to go in there by my parents. It's like, well, this is an educational ride. But then, of course, they always, growing up in a Christian household as well, we were always like, well, now they talk about evolution. And today I'm not as strict a proponent against, Bill Nye the Science Guy or something. But back then it's like, oh, well, that was a bad part. We don't listen to that part about the millions of years. But back then we really were concerned about that portion of the ride or whatever. But homeschoolers went on certain things, right? You went on Universe of Energy. You took time in the World Showcase, and you went to the Hall of Presidents because that was a learning experience. So moving on now to the Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. First of all, I am like getting blown away by Matt's comments. I don't know if Crystal took over the keyboard, but I just came out with this interview with Matt and Crystal, and Matt was like, he tells us, not to give spoilers, but he's like, yeah, I went when I was younger, once or whatever, and it was nice, it was good, but I just saw it as a kids park, and I went to Kings Island, all the other places. It's just another place for me. But now here he is like, yeah, I always picked up my feet when the rats ran out, or Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. Like, that's either Crystal or he just lied, like totally lied on the podcast. Because I don't know, he's like the expert on the 25th year, like anniversary year. So yeah, that was it was scary. It was great 3D. Looked like a cat who turned into a lion was pawing your face. You have rats, it's just air puffs on your legs, but it feels like rats are running past your legs. It was honestly a great attraction because of how scary it was, and because it was just it's a classic movie, right? I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Honey, I Blew Up the Kid and all that. It's a classic movie to sort of actually feel like you got shrunk down. Anthony says he was terrified by the rats. I think everybody was for the most part. People started screaming all over the place. Oh, okay. It was still open, Matt, at that point. I forget when it closed. So even when you started dating and going, it was still there. Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense then. Okay, I'll give you a pass on that. After that closed, they reopened the original attraction, which was, let me grab a pin over here. I have a pin of this, not because I liked it at all, but because I didn't like it. My mom got it as a joke. It's the Captain EO. Now, I know it's classic. I know, it's Michael Jackson and George Lucas did it together. And, to not get into Michael Jackson stuff, I think that's iffy to put Michael Jackson in the parks based upon the stuff that people have said about him, but that aside, it really wasn't very fun. It was like I was saying about Body Wars. It might be something that you go back to. It's like, this is so outdated and so cheesy. Like, it's not fun. It's really boring. I mean, maybe somebody here was like, I love Captain EO. Jill did not like it. But in kind of more recent years, they brought back Captain EO after they closed Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, and it was bad, I think. And I think a lot of people thought it was bad because they replaced it. And what you can do today is go in and watch the Pixar Short Film Fest in 3D. So you get to see great classic short films from Pixar, which are awesome. They are, moving and all of that. But again, I can watch those at home. The 3D isn't like, mean, it's 4D, so like the one with the bird, I forget the name of it right now. Somebody can tell me. It's the bird on the beach. You know, when the waves come up, there's like a little splash of water that comes. So I mean, it's a little more than watching it at home, but I feel like the experience of the Pixar Film Fest is not as exciting as it could be. And I would love to see them return to Honey, I Shrunk the Audience. I feel like a lot of other people are that same way. I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong there. Maybe it was too scary. Maybe it was like Alien Encounter, but I have great memories of that. So anyways, yeah, so Epcot, there was all sorts of things happening on the 25th. And here's something interesting too, a little quote here from the bottom, like there's a bar of text right in the center. And it says here at the bottom, you could spend 2 days at Epcot, 1 day in World Showcase, and 1 day at Future World, discovering what life may be like on our 50th anniversary, which is so interesting to read now, right? Because there's no way. It's like, it's exciting because it's like, wow, look at what they did here with the VR stuff. They were envisioning what it was going to be like, and they obviously back then they had to use wires. But I now have right here a VR system that does have a wire because it's plugged in. But I have a completely wireless VR system. You know, there's no wires required. And so in some ways, they were envisioning the world as it would be during the 50th anniversary. But it's also sad to think about. I mean, nobody could think that what we've talked about earlier, that the 50th anniversary would not, at least in my opinion, live up to what they were able to do on the 25th because of COVID and because of all that. No one could have guessed. No one could envision, you know, that kind of a future or would even want to, you know. So that's kind of a crazy thing to think, and to even just put into perspective of kind of that, something we talked about on the podcast several times of, you know, we think the best for tomorrow, and Walt did that. He envisioned a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. But, you know, when we envision the future, we think of the best, but sometimes it may not be exactly what we've envisioned. And so all we are promised is today. All we have is the here, is the now, is this moment. So are we living this moment to the fullest? Are we living this moment to the best of our ability? And that's a question we each have to ask ourselves, right? Now, that being said, Matt says this. He says, I would love for Disney to put out a VR visit to Walt Disney World. I'd just walk around Main Street. 2 things about that. First and foremost, it's not fully what you're talking about, because I wish that existed too. But currently on the VR system, I have an app called Wander. I bought the app called Wander, and it uses the Google Maps Street View. So you can walk through Walt Disney World. It looks like you're actually there. Now, obviously, it's not as realistic because Google Street View is just what you'd see. It's people with their faces blurred out. So it's like, well, that's not very realistic. But you can put this on, look full 360, move down the street at any of the parks, anywhere on property, obviously even, you know, anywhere that their cameras have been on property, which is pretty much everywhere at Disney. And you can do that with still 360s, like Google or Street View. But additionally, I want to mention, there is a YouTube channel, speaking of stuff from the past, there's a YouTube channel that is working on building in VR old Disney rides. So they've already done it with one, and I actually put it on and experienced it. It's not something that you can move through. It moves by itself, just like you're on a ride. But I actually experienced 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the original ride at Disneyland. That was at Disneyland. So you actually see the queue. It moves for you, and you can look 360. You're on the ride, and there's the little hole in front of you. You can look out all around. And, you know, again, it's an old ride, so it's cheesy, but that's what the old ride was. So they're actually working on doing these 3D VR YouTube. It's on YouTube, 3D VR YouTube videos that you can use with your headset that they're hoping to do for like very loved old attractions that are closed, like Horizons in Epcot, for example, and all these others that are not there anymore. So I'm looking forward to that. So it's not quite what you're talking about, Matt, because I have envisioned that as well, but it's very similar what they're doing there. Yeah, they should blur people's faces out with Mickey faces. I feel like that would just be like a little too freaky, just like 500 Mickey faces just smiling at you everywhere you go. So obviously, again, we don't have Animal Kingdom, so we have our final place and that is in 1996 at least. That is Disney Mgm Studios. You'll notice, of course, I didn't say Hollywood Studios because it was not that back then. It was the Mgm Studio, Disney MGM. And being Disney MGM, they had a little bit, it was interesting. They had license to do a few things that you would never see today. I was just reading the other day about they had Ace Ventura at what is now Hollywood Studios one time, walking around and greeting people. Ace Ventura, Jim Carrey movie. I remember when I went in 1996, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were there. All 4 of them, they were in a parade. And also actually for meet and greets, they were like jumping on a fake car in the backlot area. You could meet the Ninja Turtles. So there were some really interesting things back when it was MGM, Disney MGM. But opening that year for the first time, well, they had their own parade, which is still to this day, I think, one of the most talked about missed parades. The Pixar Pals parade, where you got to see all the classic, meaning, those early Pixar movies, you got to see all of them in a parade. Really good. And they updated that throughout the years. So like, I'm thinking actually in 1996, obviously it was just Toy Story. It was a fully Toy Story parade, but then they added on, like when Up came out, they added that onto it and stuff. But when it first came out, it would just be Toy Story, I suppose. As far as Disney MGM, Matt says that park I remember from a few visits as a kid. Probably my favorite park then, and we still call it MGM at home. Sometimes I do as well. Sometimes I'll still say MGM just because. But I think for the most part now I say Hollywood Studios, which the rumors are they're going to change the name again based upon the fact that it's not so much Hollywood anymore as it is Star Wars. And, there's a couple themes. So I don't know. There's been rumors for a few years, though. They might just be rumors. We won't go to Walt Disney World News today to find out because they're always making things up. So, if you see something there, it's usually pretty sketchy. But so also that year, let's see what else on here is there that is no longer here. Well, right here, sorry, in the middle here. This right here, you recognize this guy, Clopin. That was brand new, and that was a musical. That was the Hunchback of Notre Dame musical. I remember seeing that multiple times on multiple trips. It was a really good show. Again, maybe watching it as an adult, I wouldn't like it. Now, Jill, you're in here. You can tell us. And I know you were a big fan of Hunchback, so you may, that may sway you a little bit. But as an adult, do you think it was good, or was it just being a kid that musical seemed so good? I remember that it was similar to in production value. It was like when you go to Beauty and the Beast on stage at Hollywood Studios now, but I feel like at least it had more special effects, more going on. You can even see in this photo here, there was like confetti that would fall from the sky. And again, it may just be in my mind, but I think it was a fairly good as far as the Disney stage shows go. Matt says, I would like to have seen that one like Hunchback. I keep hearing it might come to Broadway. I have not heard that. That would be interesting, though, because I don't hear, every once in a while you hear about the Hunchback, people mentioning it like I am now because we're brought back to it. But when you talk to people about their favorite Disney movie, I've never had anybody tell me, oh, the Hunchback is my favorite movie. Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. But I say that to say, it would be surprising to me if it came to Broadway, just because I don't feel as if there's a huge fan base for Hunchback. And maybe I'm wrong. I could be totally wrong. I'd just be in the wrong circles. But I would be interested in seeing that. I think that would be very unique, very different. I mean, who hasn't seen some sort of production, whether it's on the high school level or above, of Aladdin at this point, or of the Lion King? That's been done time and time again. It's on Broadway for years. Or like I said, Beauty and the Beast. We've seen that one was really done all the time. But to see Hunchback, that's something brand new, unique, but still obviously old. I would definitely be up for that. Jill says it was the most awesome stage show. I loved it. I still have a bell-shaped piece of confetti. Now, where do you keep that? I think in the past at your old house, because Jill's my aunt, by the way, it'd be creepy if it was like some stranger I met once and it's like, hey, at your house, I remember in your bedroom. I'd be like, what the? But no, she's my aunt. So I think you used to have it like on your dresser or something, didn't you? Because you had like a little Clopin doll and like for some reason also the NSYNC puppets, but that's another story. But didn't you like have that like right in your house or something? Like in your house, obviously, but right on your dresser. And where is it now? Where is the bell-shaped piece of confetti? You need to like take a photo and we can post it on the page so we can know this is true. As she's writing that, I'll look what else we have here. We have well, I don't. This is odd. Okay, this is actually really funny. I didn't notice this earlier, but you know, you got all of the things, some of which are still open today. The Tower of Terror, all this, and it's all about Hollywood Studios. Except, I guess they were like, man, we just don't have anything else to put for Hollywood Studios or Disney MGMs. What should we do? And so they're like, well, you know what? Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. It's good. Let's put it on there. Over here, no, and it says, you won't believe your eyes, or you won't believe your size in Honey, I Shrunk the Audience at Epcot. It's like, what? Why are you telling us about that again? We already saw about that. This is supposed to be everything about Disney MGM Studios, and then it's like, just put it, you know, just throw it in there. We need something to fill this space. You won't believe your size. It's like that's strange. Anyways, yeah, that was odd. So okay, so here's a thought. This was not. Oh, let me see what Jill says. She says it's our photo in our photo album with our pictures from that vacation. That makes a lot more sense. For the bell-shaped piece of confetti. So here's something that's still open today. And I was actually recently asking people on Twitter a very controversial question, which to me has an obvious answer. I was asking, I don't know if you guys know this, but as far as Muppets are concerned, I'm really excited. Coming out next month is Muppets Haunted Mansion. All that we really know about it really is that Gonzo has to spend a night in the Haunted Mansion. And him and the other, others are there, and some of the Muppets are ghosts and all this, and there's celebrity appearances and things. But all that to say, my question was, I knew it was going to be controversial to say, hey, if Disney decided to do a seasonal overlay of Muppets in the Haunted Mansion, like they do with The Nightmare Before Christmas, would you be okay with that? Now, most people said no, and I would actually be against it too, for the same reason, in retrospect, I would be against if they did something like this again. And the reason is, the reason I'm against, in theory, the castle cake and the overlays is because someone who only gets to go one time to Disney, they wait their entire lives, and say they, like me, my favorite ride is the Haunted Mansion. And so I think about it, I've read every book on the Haunted Mansion, I'm so ready to go to Haunted Mansion, and then I get there, and even what they do right now, it's The Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion. I'm like, well, that's fun, but I want to see the Haunted Mansion. Like, I don't want to see Nightmare Before Christmas Haunted Mansion. I don't want to see Muppet Haunted Mansion. I want to see... So for me, the answer is very obvious. However, again, I tell you all of that to say, when I was asking that question as a poll, somebody said, hey, well, what if instead of that, what if they actually took Muppets Haunted Mansion and they did something with this at Hollywood Studios? What if they got rid of the old Muppets 4D, because it is kind of getting grainy. They do need to redo the video anyway so that it's, not as kind of grainy as it is with those old 3D glasses. And what if they did a 4D Muppets Haunted Mansion at Hollywood Studios? I would be actually really for that. I think that would be amazing. Now, I haven't seen Muppets Haunted Mansion yet. I might watch it and say, oh, this was the worst. But I think I would really like to do that. And Matt now is actually here. Yeah, he's actually caught on before I was saying it. It'd be good if they did a special holiday version of Muppet 3D with Haunted Mansion, but not the other way around. Yeah. So so if they were able to take this and do something new with it, I think that would be great. I would be all for it. I think it's due for a change. Obviously, in terms of things that are now closed, we also have Catastrophe Canyon, which was dying a very slow death. This was around till the day it closed, and was the best part of the final piece of it. But it was like a few hour tour when it first opened. The studio Backlot tour took 3 hours, I've heard, in both walking and riding portions. You would ride through portions and you'd see where they filmed movies. You would see animators. You can see, well, this is not actually this picture is wrong. But you would actually be able to see, you wouldn't stand right next to them, but you would look in as you were driving by and actually see Disney animators working on movies and things, drawing. And then there was a walking portion you got to see. So it was pretty interesting in its day when it was an actual working studio, which was their idea, which fell through. The pre-show was a little cheesy there in the studio backlot tour. I'm sure it was really exciting if you were in the pre-show. I was never in it where you got soaked and you had to wear a raincoat. I'm sure then, you have a lot of funny, stories from that. And if your friend was in it, I don't think I ever had any family members who were in it. So I'm sure that would be hilarious. But it wasn't just to stand there and watch strangers. It's like, yeah, okay, they're going to push a button now and the boat's going to have a cannon that goes off and you're going to get wet. It's like, all right. I have no idea what Anthony is saying here in this comment. Kermit's Calamity, but it kind of sounds like an escape room to help Kermit escape the Haunted Mansion. It sounds actually intriguingly interesting. I would be open to hearing more about this, and if it were an escape room, I would definitely go in and pay top dollar for that. No, I should not say top dollar, because if Bob Chapek is watching this, which he is undoubtedly not, I don't want to give him any ideas about raising more prices. So, Disaster Canyon and the Backlot tour were some of the ones I enjoyed the most. Yeah, that was definitely worth doing. And to see Walt's plane, his actual plane was a part of that tour, which now, it's not. It's kind of, I don't know where his plane is now, actually, to be honest. I kind of forget. It might be at the Walt Disney Archives. But Rachel just comes in and she makes herself known just by laughing. I don't know what she was laughing at. But Rachel, another one of our guests, and as I said, along with Matt and Crystal, who debuted this week, just first of all, just really great people. Rachel's a really great person. Matt and Crystal, really great people. So they were some of my favorite, definitely top interviews. If you have not listened to Rachel's interview, if you haven't listened to Matt and Crystal from this week, please go ahead and listen. There's just some really great stuff, and I won't go into that because you can listen to it. So. Okay, the Bob Chapek comment. That's yeah, okay. Yeah, be careful about saying you'll pay more. But Rachel, listen, Rachel works at the, listen, can you do something here? Because we were talking earlier in the show. In 1996, for a one day in the parks, it was $38.50. Can you work on getting us back down to that? Can you do some stuff behind the scenes here for us? A 5-day park hopper was $186. An annual pass was $220. Rachel's going to be on it. She's working on it. And, I believe in the magic that she has to make this happen. So, that being said, I will show you this page, but I don't have anything exciting to talk about from it. There were new things at the water parks during the 25th anniversary. There were apparently thrilling and chilling water park thrills at Blizzard Beach. And then there was the ultimate water thrill slide at Blizzard Beach, the Challenge Summit Plummet, which is still there, I'm sure. I've never been to any of the water parks, so it's just not necessarily interesting to me. I've never been one. If I'm going to go to Disney, I don't necessarily want to go to the water parks. I know that they're themed too. I know it'll be fun. It's great to cool off. If I ever live in Florida, I'll probably go to them. But I've never been interested. Have any of you guys been interested in the water parks? Rachel says, she says, I'm magical, but I don't have that kind of pixie dust. So, the thing is, she's just making it, she's just trying to be nice. She's just trying to be whatever the word is. She's just trying to play it off. She does have the magic. She's going to make it happen. By the end of the 50th anniversary, we're going to see the prices go down to $38.50. I believe in her. Okay. Pleasure Island, this whole page, everything on these pages no longer exists. It's gone. Everything gone. Even Planet Hollywood is now the observatory. We've been to both. Definitely only faux. We went to Winter Summer Mini Golf. Is that still there? I think Winter Summer Mini Golf is still there. I also haven't been to that, but I think it's still there. I don't know. I'm not sure. Okay, so Pleasure Island is gone. And I don't know that I really care that it's gone. I love Disney Springs. I don't really, when I look at this, I just think, you know what? These are all nightclubs, and they all, to me, look, frankly, kind of boring. Because again, if I'm going to Disney, I'm not looking to go to the Rock and Roll Beach Club and hang out with all my friends at a big party. That's not, you know, or the Neon Armadillo to put on my cowboy boots and get ready to kick up your heels to great live country music. I don't like country music, so none of that sounds interesting. But I will say there is one thing on here that I've just kind of learned about recently, and I wish was still open, and so do hundreds of thousands, probably millions of people, and that would be the Adventurers Club. So the Adventurers Club, it says travel back to the 1930s and encounter eccentric travelers and kooky special effects. So I will probably screw this up a bit, but I will say do some research, read about the Adventurers Club. I mean, it is it was a crazy cool place from what I can tell. You would go in, and the idea behind it was that every night was New Year's Eve. You were celebrating New Year's Eve every night, and there were several people who were in character who would appear every night, the same characters at the Adventurers Club. They were improv people, so they were the same characters, but you'd see different things each night. You could go every night; it would be a different experience. And the idea now, some of you have probably heard of SEA, the Society of Adventurers and Explorers. Or strike that, reverse it. The Society of Explorers and Adventurers, SEA. They were a part of the Adventurers Club. So there are people involved. You know, obviously this is legend or story behind the attractions from the Jungle Cruise, Alberta Falls. There's also someone from I think it's Tokyo Disneyland. From Harrison Hightower, from their version of the Tower of Terror. If all of this that I'm telling you doesn't make sense, you just need to go and read more about the Adventurers Club. Because SEA, the Society of Explorers and Adventurers, is going to be a series on Disney Plus soon. They're going to be doing a lot with SEA. But this place, you could actually go and, you know, you could have drinks, you can eat. It's for adults only, and you're going to experience this very different type of experience that I don't think happens anywhere else. I'm going to grab a book off of here. I have not yet read this book, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be very integral to learning more about the Adventurers Club. It's Kungaloosh by Jungle Jim Korkis. Jim Korkis is a famous Disney historian. All of his books are published by Theme Park Press. So the same publisher that published my book, Beyond the Pixie Dust. But this includes his new book includes the complete Adventurers Club guidebook, which again is no longer around. So I'm really excited to look into this. I have so many books that I'm getting through, but I'm excited to read more about that. Anyways. What about Discovery Island? Will you go there? I will never go there unless it's legal because I don't want to get kicked out for life. And I don't want to get parasites swimming across the Discovery Island. That would be a horrible idea. Okay, so anything else? I mean, there's other little things here and there in this guide. But I do want to, before I sign off at around 8 o'clock, I want to tell you guys about plans for next month and get your input on a few things. So let me see if there's any other little things to highlight, because it highlights Disney's Boardwalk and some of the smaller things. The Disney Village Marketplace, which I honestly don't know anything about, but apparently that is... Oh, okay, yeah, the Disney Village Marketplace, they're just referring to that as, it's a part of Disney Springs now. It's the part that wasn't Pleasure Island. That's what that is. So to give you another little image of back then, here we go. This is our map from 1996. Obviously, again, you can notice that down here, on here we have Blizzard Beach, but we have the absence, of course, of Animal Kingdom. We just have Epcot, Hollywood Studios, and the Magic Kingdom here, along with some of the resorts and some other things. But it actually then gives us a little, and I'll show you them briefly. Each of the parks, we've got the Magic Kingdom. Of course, the limited park before we have the expanded new Fantasyland that is kind of the biggest expansion there. We then have over here what is then Disney Mgm Studios, and look how different everything is there. Obviously, some of the same things. You're going to go down the street and go to Tower of Terror, but we have sound stages all over the place. Some of them still there, some have been repurposed. We don't have any of Star Wars Land, obviously. We have this whole ride through with the tram even. Can I get my finger up there? The tram coming through here. This was the whole, the whole Backlot tour section. And then we've got over here, let me move my hand there. We've got Epcot, which, of course, from a bird's eye view, looks very similar. I mean, in many ways, because the World Showcase is very similar. But you have Test Track, which hadn't quite opened, was in the works. You can see the cars there, but it's actually not labeled because it's not open yet. The car on top of the building where Test Track is. Obviously, Innoventions, this whole thing is really going to be changing. We've got down here, we got the dinosaur for Universe of Energy, which that year, as we said, was going to be Alan's Energy Adventure for the very first time. And we don't even have Mission Space or anything like that. We've got what? We've got the AFI Showcase over there and the New York Street on the Backlot. Wait a minute, what am I talking about? That's Disney MGM Studios. I'm gonna look at the thing here. All right, number one and number two. Number two was the Wonders of Life Pavilion, of course, where Body Wars was, and number one was Horizons. I fail for the day. Horizons, of course, where now Mission Space is, and that was another loved attraction, Horizons, which was seen as the sequel to Walt's original attraction. Which is still in the Magic Kingdom, being, I just keep saying Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, the Carousel of Progress. So that was, Horizons was kind of the sequel attraction to the Carousel of Progress, it seemed, and loved by many people. So anyways, Matt has a good idea here. He says, I miss all the 90s sitcoms visiting Walt Disney World. They should do a special for the 50th. I feel like people in recent years have been really excited or been really interested in that idea of going back to the way things were, or what's the word I'm searching for? I don't know. I'm totally blanking. But people are good with going back in time and being like, they're feeling nostalgic. That's the word I'm looking for. People are feeling nostalgic. So if you come out with something like a movie that is a total remake, people are like, I hated it. But yes, thank you, Rachel. Nostalgia. So, but if you come out with something where it's like, if you really think about it, it's the same exact thing all over again. People are like, this is the greatest thing. And it's kind of what happened with Star Wars, right? I mean, the new Star Wars movie came out, and it was kind of the same as A New Hope, just on a bigger scale, and everybody loved it, including myself. But then, the second one came out of the new trilogy, and it was like, they did everything totally different. It didn't seem anything like Star Wars, and everyone was like, this is the worst. I hate this. So to all that to say, I think that it's a good time with all the nostalgia going around to be like, hey, it might have been cheesy, but let's do one of those shows and kind of do the Visiting Walt Disney World episode, because it always happened in the old shows, right? Especially some of those newer shows that are on Disney Plus, which I haven't watched, but I think there's a sitcom. It's called Raven's Home, I think. Stuff like that. I believe it's just like That's So Raven, except she's an adult now and she has kids. Something like that would be a perfect opportunity to use one of those types of things for. And I would be surprised if they don't do something like that somewhere, just to get the word out, to get people excited about the 50th. Anyways, all that being said, thanks for joining me for looking back in time. And I don't know when I took this off. I guess to show everyone and never put it back on. I got to put it back on now because it's officially a collector's item. So all that. Hey, so next month, I'm excited. I've been doing this live show for a few months now, since the book came out, I think. So maybe since April or May. And we've been doing different themes here. It's always been here in my office, different thoughts, different topics. Next month, I am excited. I want to make sure I get the right date. I'll tell you guys now, and I'm going to start posting things after this show. But next month, I will be in the Magic Kingdom for the live show. And I'm going to be in the Magic Kingdom on October 22nd. So I'm going to fly in very, very early to Orlando on October 21st. I'm going to spend the day mostly at Disney Springs. I'm going to be doing some interviews with pastor that day from Cast Member Church on the 21st. If you haven't checked out Cast Member Church, whether you're a Christian or not or whatever, you should check it out. It's really cool what he's doing. Castmemberchurch.com, I believe it is. I'm going to interview him and talk to him on the 21st, spend the day at Disney Springs. On the 22nd, I'm going to spend the day at Magic Kingdom. And on the 23rd, I'm flying out very late. So I'm going to spend the day probably at Disney Springs again. And I'm going to be interviewing Jeff Dixon that day. If you've ever heard of him, he has written some books for Theme Park Press, like The Disney Driven Life, I believe is one of them. But most famously, he has written The Key to the Kingdom. It's a fiction series. And there's like 5 or 6 books in that series. I love those books. I'm so excited to meet him in person and interview him for the podcast and just talk to him about some things. So I'm excited about those things. During that whole time when I'm not meeting with somebody or interviewing, I will do live streams. I will probably do a live stream when I'm going on my very last from the airport to Disney Disney Express, Magical Express. The Magical Express is going away, and so this will be my last time. When I go on my next trip early next year, it will be gone. So I'll probably do a little live stream there. Hey, I've arrived in Orlando. Here's the Disneyland Express. Why do I keep saying that? The Magical Express. I'm getting on it, and then do some stuff in Disney Springs. But what I want you guys to help me with is for the 22nd, when I'm in Magic Kingdom, what is it that you guys would like to see? Because instead of there will probably be a time in the evening around 7 o'clock or so that I will do a live show like this. That will be 1 hour, and we'll be walking the park. We'll be doing different things, talking and showing things. But I think throughout the day, I'll do other live streams as well. And if you're working, you can watch them later or check back in. And I want to do things that you guys want to see. I want to, if you say, hey, I've always wanted to check out this food that they have, or I want you to go in and show me what 50th anniversary merch they have, or, this is my favorite ride. Can you, live stream through the ride, whatever it is. So let me know a few things that I want to do. Obviously I can't live stream this, is I want to go check out the new PhilharMagic, which features Coco. There's a scene from Coco there. So I'm going to go in there, and I'll kind of tell you guys about what it's like afterwards. Can't really film it. It won't be much to see. It'll be blurry. I will be streaming, and hopefully it's not too choppy with, the Wi-Fi and people doing the same. I will stream that night the new projection show, Disney Enchantment. I will go early enough, or I plan to go early enough to that area that I'm going to stand on Main Street, because what's amazing to me is before, and thanks April, yes, that's exactly what I plan to do. Before, I and probably many of you wanted to get close to the castle. You want to be in the hub because you don't want to be impeded, to see anything that's happening in the sky or in the castle. That was always my thing. I want to be in the hub to see a clear view of the sky. Now the projections are not just happening on the castle. The projections are happening on the walls as well down Main Street as well. So if I'm standing down Main Street, we'll be able to see a view of the castle, the fireworks, and Main Street itself being transformed by these projections. So I will be live streaming that. Please make sure you come on the 22nd to that at the very least. Matt, Coco's scene at PhilharMagic releases November 12th. I don't know why. Everywhere I was looking, for some reason, the site I was looking at, it looked like it had already been released, but I must have not been reading close enough. I'll check it out just in case. I'll see. Or maybe Rachel knows the inside info. Current cast members always seem to have a little bit more info than just the average person that's living in Youngstown, Ohio. So I plan to do that. I see Matt has said, additionally, just anything that's special for the 50th. So, of course, like we talked about last month, we'll have the statues, and I'll make sure to get some photos of those, photos with those. We'll also obviously have merchandise, and I think I'll do some of that too, not only for that, but also I'll be there during the Halloween season, of course. So I'll have Halloween merch. I have read and confirmed that there is no special merchandise for the Mickey's Boo Bash. So, even if I was going to be going to that, which I'm not, let me say this. If anybody wants to pay for me for a ticket for the Boo Bash, that's great. I will go and I'll live stream every single second of it. That's awesome. I'll do it. But right now I'm not planning to pay for a ticket to the Boo Bash. So I'll show you what Halloween merchandise they have, which is special. The 50th merchandise that's special. I also, as far as food is concerned, this has been around for a long time, and for some reason, I just never knew about it until recent years, and I am excited to try in Adventureland, and I will absolutely live stream this. I'm going to try the cheeseburger egg roll. I've heard a lot about it. I am excited about it. It is a loved snack, and I am ready for it. So I got that. I'm ready. So with Coco, you thought it was going to be there in August, and it wasn't. Yeah, I hope it will be. If not, I guess the good news is, if not, I'm going to go. I'm going on a much longer trip with family in February, so we'll see it then at the very least, I guess, right? Yeah. So we'll check out the Halloween stuff as well. So does anybody else have anything? And if you think of something later, message me, comment on the video. I know there's some people that said, hey, I can't be there tonight, but I'm gonna watch later. If you're watching this later, please comment, let me know what you'd like to see that day. And of course, I'll take some suggestions live as well, when we're on there. While I'm looking at the comments, walking around the park, if you say, hey, can you turn here and, go into Tomorrowland and whatever it is, we can do that too. So show us the updates on Tron. What does it look like? Is it, it's under construction. So, how are the construction updates, so we'll talk through that. And, but I'm definitely very excited because this will be, for me, the very first time, live streaming in the parks, doing something since I wrote the book. I plan to do the interviews while I'm there. I plan to do the live streaming stuff while I'm there, take a lot of photos while I'm there. And also try to, and at this point, it's just going to be me doing it myself because I don't have anybody to help me who's going to be there. Film some sort of video that I'll edit together with other stuff for promotion for the book. So we'll see. We'll see. Throw that in the air. We'll see how that goes. If you're going to be in Magic Kingdom just happen to be like, oh yeah, I'm going October 22nd. Someone let me know if you can even come for literally 2 minutes and help me hold my phone for a second. Let me know. Message me. We can meet up in the Magic Kingdom for a minute, and you can help me to film something. So, yeah, Matt, I am offering to take you along to help me, but only if you pay for yourself. So I'll also take you along virtually. Yeah. Rachel says, I will for my birthday, but I'm not entirely. First of all, I'm excited because she could be possibly telling the truth, but also I feel bad because it's her birthday, and I'm not sure if she's like serious or not. If you're serious, that would be amazing, Rachel, and we'll message. We'll figure it out. That would be awesome. Jake could have gone with me. Well, I invited Jake to the show, but he refused to come, so this was going to be my invitation of the night to come, and he just blew it off. No. Yeah, Matt, it's $38.50 for a ticket. So if you can afford $38.50, yeah. But no, I'll tell you what. Yeah, again, if anybody, my bank account is open. I've got Venmo. If you want to send me, what is it, like $100 and some dollars, I'll go to the Boo Bash. It's fine. I won't complain. Totally fine with me. In fact, actually, in terms of that, in all seriousness, it is sold out. Like on the website, if you go, it's like, hey, it's all sold out for the year. But there have been countless people saying that when they arrive at the park for the day, even when signs say in the morning, the event for tonight is all sold out, later that evening, when either leaving the park or approaching for the Boo Bash without tickets, there's signs that say, hey, tickets are available. So for whatever reason, whether people dropped out or whatever, I feel like it's possible they will be available that night, but I'm certainly not going to pay for myself because I'm already paying for the trip and I will be broke. And more importantly, my wife, who is probably watching this on another channel, I'd be dead when I came back because she would kill me for spending another $100 some for 3 hours of the Boo Bash. So, all right. All that being said, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get out of here, and I will see you guys through the podcast. There will be a new podcast coming out in about a week and a half now. And on top of that, I will see you live on the live streams in the end of October. So you guys have any ideas or any thoughts or any comments? Feel free to message me. Join our other group page. We have a community Facebook page where we try to discuss things from the episodes if anybody's willing. Right now we have far less people in our community group page than we do here on the public page. But what we'd like to do is just have a place where people can support each other and discuss their points of view, not just on like favorite attraction stuff, but again, those deeper topics, those deeper things of saying like, what is purpose? What is meaning? How do you find love? What is joy? How do you find peace in our world? And so we want to get deeper with things. So if you're not a part of that, join it. And the more people we have, I think the more people will respond and interact and talk. So thank you guys for being on here tonight and for staying around. And it's been fun going back in time to the 25th anniversary. Oh, that's another thing I want to do. Ride Splash Mountain one last time. I hope it's open and it's not too cold that day. Just ride it one last time before it closes. Undoubtedly by February it'll be done. So, all right, we'll see you guys soon. Thanks so much.